Hello there, guys. Welcome back to a new Oliver Twist video. Last time we spoke about the events that take place in chapter 8. Let's remember together very quickly these events. Oliver is taken back to Fagin by Bill Sikes and Nancy. He is back among the thieves. Fagin and Bill Sikes take the books and money from Oliver, and Oliver begs them to send them back to Mr. Brownlow, but they refuse and laugh at him. Fagin hits Oliver when he tries to escape, but Nancy stops him. Fagin tells Bill Sikes that Oliver must work for his bread and help them in their plan to rob a house. So, this was a summary of chapter 8. In this video, we are going to continue chapter 9. But before we start chapter 9, I want you to pause this video, go to your readers, read chapter 9 of Oliver Twist, and on the CD, I want you to listen to chapter 9 tracks, which are chapter 9A and chapter 9B. Okay, now that I suppose that you have done what I asked you to do, as usual, let's move on to discussing the summary of chapter 9 of Oliver Twist. The next morning, Oliver finds a new pair of shoes for him by his bed. Fagin tells him that he is going to see Bill Sikes and that he must do what Sikes tells him because he is an angry man. So Oliver is going to Bill Sikes' house, and Bill is planning to take Oliver with him to that house in Chertsey. Oliver prays to God to save him. When Nancy enters and sees him praying, she turns white and covers her face with her hands. She takes Oliver to Bill's house. Sikes frightens Oliver and threatens him with a pistol to do what he wants. He tells Oliver that he will shoot him if Oliver speaks a word when they are out. So Oliver goes to Sykes, and as Fagin tells him, Oliver will do anything if you frighten him enough. So Sykes takes Fagin's advice and frightens Oliver to do what he wants. Sykes takes Oliver to meet Toby Crackit. Oliver is very tired and doesn't know what's happening. The three are now ready to go to that house and rob it. Toby Crackit is the man with the red hair. They arrive at the house and climb to the top of the wall. Sykes opens a small window and tells Oliver to get inside and open the door for them. Oliver gets in. He decides to go upstairs and wait to wake the family. He doesn't mind if he dies. So Oliver is honest. He decides to wake the family to stop the thieves, even if Oliver himself dies. He doesn't care about his life. He cares about this innocent family that are about to get robbed. Oliver takes a step forward and Sykes cries at him, ordering him to come back. Oliver drops the lamp out of his fear and the people in the house wake up. Oliver is shot by one of the servants. Sykes seizes Oliver or grabs Oliver and carries him out. He leaves him on the ground and runs away with Toby. So now Oliver is lying on the cold, wet ground, bleeding, and is about to die. What do you think will happen to him? Will somebody be able to save Oliver in the right time? Well, we will see about that in chapter 10. Right now, we are going to take a look at the important quotes mentioned in this chapter. Okay, the first one says, "If you speak a word when you are outside, I will shoot you in the head immediately." You will find this one on page 34. Who do you think says this and to whom? Exactly. Great job, guys. Bill Sikes says these words to Oliver in Sikes' house. He frightens Oliver to do what he wants. He wants Oliver to help him rob a house. The following one. Oh, please let me run away and die in the fields. Don't make me steal. This one is on page 30 and 37. Of course, as you can see from the picture, you can tell that it's Oliver saying this. So these words are said by Oliver to Bill Sikes when they arrive at the house they plan to rob. Oliver begs Sikes to let him go and not make him steal. Sikes threatens him with his pistol in order to make him shut up and do what they have come to do. One more, it says, "They are chasing us. Drop the boy." This one is on page 39. Of course, from the red hair and from this picture, you can tell that it's Toby Crockett. So Toby Crockett says these words to Bill Sikes while they are running away from the house, and Oliver has been shot by one of the servants in the house. Sikes and Crockett leave Oliver lying on the ground and run away. So at this point, we reach the end of discussing the summary of chapter 9 of Oliver Twist. Right now, I'm going to share with you a few parts of the movie. Let's take a look.
Did he come quiet?
Like a lamb.
Sit down. And let me read you a lecture. You know what this is?
Yes.
Well then. This is powder. That here's a bullet. And this is a little bit of an old hat for wadding. Now it's loaded.
Yes, I can see it, sir.
If you speak a word when you're out of doors with me, unless I speak to you, this loading will go in your head without notice. So, if you do make up your mind to speak without leave, say your prayers first.
Okay, so let's take a look at another part of the movie.
Have mercy, don't make me steal from him. Have mercy on me.
Come out.
God's sake, let me run away and die in the fields. Never come to London, never.
Shut it. Get up, or I'll strew your brains on the grass. I'm putting you through there. Go to the front door and unfasten it.
I can't, there's a bolt on the top. I know it, I can't reach it.
Or stand on a chair or something. Just do it.
Okay, one more scene.
Oh, damnation how he flees. Is he hit bad? He's got to be hit worse. Give me a pistol. What? Got to get rid of him or else...
Okay, so now they are going to leave him on the ground, on the cold, wet ground, and run away because the servants will chase them now. Okay, so now let's take a look at some of the exercises on chapters 7, 8, and 9 in our application on the CD. Let's take a look. Okay, in this practice, we are going, as you know, to okay. In this practice, we are going to match the names to the sentences, okay? We will match each character to the sentence this character says. The first one we have here is Mr. Brownlow. What do you think Mr. Brownlow says? Great, he says Oliver will be back in 20 minutes. He says this to Mr. Grimwig. Number 2, Bill Sykes. Threatening Oliver Twist, he says, if you speak, I will shoot you. Very good. Number 3, Mr. Grimwig, Mr. Brownlow's friend. He says, you trust people too easily. Very good. Number 4, Nancy. Nancy says, you must come with me to see Bill. Very good, guys. Number 5, Toby Crackett. Toby Crackett says, they are chasing us. Drop Oliver. Way to go. Number 6, Fagin. He says Oliver must start working for his bread. And the last one, Oliver himself says, please let me stay with you. And of course, he says this line to Mr. Brownlow. Very good, guys. Now let's move on to another practice. Right or wrong? Number 1, Toby Crackett had gray hair. Wrong, he had red hair. Number 2, Mr. Grimwig was a friend of Mr. Brownlow. Right, very good. Number 3, Mr. Brownlow gave Oliver £5. It is correct, very good. He gave Oliver £5 to give the bookshop owner £4 and return £1 to Mr. Brownlow. But of course, we know what happened. Number 4, Oliver entered the house in Chertsey through a small door. Wrong, he entered through a small window. Very good. Number 5, Mrs. Bedouin was Mr. Brownlow's wife. Wrong, very good. Mrs. Bedouin was the one taking care of Mr. Brownlow's house. And the last question says Mr. Grimwig expected that Oliver would come back. Of course, wrong. It's Mr. Brownlow. He expected that Oliver would come back. Mr. Grimwig expected that Oliver would join his friends, the thieves. Let's check our answers. 6 out of 6. Very good, guys. Way to go. Now let's move to a new one. We are going to put the words in the right place to make sentences. Okay, number 1. What do you think we should start with? Sykes. Sykes and the boy. Now we need a verb. Hurried through the streets. Very good. Okay, number 2. Bates. Bates gave Oliver, very good, a dirty old suit. Number 3. These books must go back, very good, to the shop. Excellent. Number 4. Oliver jumped quickly to his feet. Excellent. Number 5. Sykes put bullets into the pistol. Very good, guys. The last one. Oliver lay on the cold, wet ground. Excellent. Now let's check our answers. Excellent job, guys. Moving on to test 3. Here we are going to choose the right word for each question. Number 1 says, Oliver, the painting in Mr. Brownlow's house, liked or hated? Liked, of course. Number 2, Mr. Brownlow owed the man in the bookshop £5 or £4? He owed the man £4. He gave Oliver £5 so that he can get back £1. Very good. Number 3. Bill Sykes said they could get in through a small of the house. Through a small window or a small door? A small window. Way to go. Number 4. Mr. Grimwig was afraid that Oliver might upset or deceive Mr. Brownlow. Might deceive. Very good. And the meaning of the word deceive is to make someone believe something that is not true, to cheat someone, to lie to them. Number 5 says, when Oliver arrived at Mr. Brownlow's house, he was quite ill, of course. Number 6, Fagin hit Oliver with a stick or his hand? With a stick. The last one, Mr. Brittles was after he had seen Sykes and Crackit. Mr. Brittles is one of the servants in the house at Chertsey. He was unhappy or afraid? He was afraid. Excellent job. Let's check the answers. 7 out of 7. Way to go, guys. The last test, we are going to match the answers to the questions. Number 1. Who looked after Mr. Brownlow's house? What's her name? Mrs. Bedwin. Very good. Number 2. Who did Nancy say Oliver was when she saw him near the bookshop? She said that Oliver was her brother. Excellent. 3. What did Mr. Grimwig say he would do if Oliver returned? He said if he returned, I would eat my head, so that he would eat his head. Number 4 says, what did Fagin think Oliver would do if he escaped? He thought that Oliver would go to the police and tell them about the gang. Very good, guys. Number 5 says, what did Fagin say happened to a boy who ran away? This was a story he was telling Oliver to make him afraid. He told him that that boy was hanged. The last one, what did Toby Crackit tell Sykes to do with Oliver? Of course, to drop him on the ground. Let's check our answers. 6 out of 6. Excellent job, guys. Okay, so at this point we come to the end of our video today. I hope that you enjoyed Oliver Twist until now. Now that we have taken 9 chapters, next time, inshallah, we will discuss chapter 10, which is the last chapter you are responsible for. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.